Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Patton here. Welcome back to the Excelsior YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about movies and history. Can you use movies to teach history? Today we're going to get into the usefulness of movies for teaching history and a couple great movies that we at Excelsior love to use to talk about history. What better way to bring history to life than with a movie? Seeing events unfold on the screen can be a lot more entertaining, admittedly, than just reading a dry summary of an event in a textbook. Using films to teach history can be a really powerful way for students to connect with events from the past. From enthralling historical dramas to compelling civil rights stories, historically based movies can give students a more concrete way to get invested in people and events from long ago. But before pressing play on any historical movie and calling it a well rounded history lesson, it's important to know how best to approach historical films. First, no movie is going to be 100% historically accurate. It's just not possible. And the most important thing to remember when using movies to aid in historical education is that this is a movie. It's supposed to be entertainment. It's likely not a documentary. And even when you're watching a documentary, which we're not covering today, maybe at a later point we will, documentaries are still seeking to tell a story, and they can't provide the same level of nuance that a history textbook could. This isn't to say that movies and documentaries aren't useful. That's not the point of this video, but still we'd like to encourage caution, and no movie is ever going to replace a history class or a history textbook. Because of this, historical movies should never be used as the primary method of teaching history. Instead, they should be used as a supplemental tool. Uh, because movies are a fantastic way to spark student interest, add emotional context to historical events, and encourage critical thinking about how the past is portrayed. So, with those caveats, as well as an explanation of the value and use of historical movies, let's go ahead and get into some of these movies. First up, we have Glory, which was released in 1989 with an MPAA rating of R. Glory tells the story of the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, the first African American unit in the Civil War. The film follows the regiment from its formation through intense training, facing racism from both Confederate and Union forces. Despite limited resources and constant prejudice, the soldiers proved their courage and discipline, culminating in a heroic but deadly assault on Fort Wagner. The movie highlights sacrifice and the struggle for dignity and equality. It's an excellent tool for teaching history because it brings to life the contributions of Black soldiers in the Civil War and illustrates the complexities of race, leadership, and courage. It encourages critical discussions about systemic racism and the evolution of civil rights in America. Second, Schindler's List, released in 1994 with an MPAA rating of R. Schindler's List, a very famous movie by Steven Spielberg, follows the story of Oskar Schindler, a German businessman who initially profits from World War II by employing Jewish workers in his factory. But then, as he witnesses the horrors of the Holocaust, Schindler transforms from a profiteer to a savior, risking everything to protect well over 1,000 Jews. Through Schindler's moral awakening, the story emphasizes the impact that a singular individual can have in the face of overwhelming evil. Schindler's List is a powerful educational tool because it provides a deeply human perspective on the Holocaust, as it fosters empathy and a deeper understanding of one of history's darkest periods. 3. The Longest Day, released in 1962 with a rating of G. The Longest Day is a World War II film that dramatizes the D-Day invasion of Normandy. This movie features multiple storylines to show the scale and complexity of the operation. It highlights the planning, execution, and chaos of the invasion, emphasizing the bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers on all sides. Through its detailed reenactments, the movie captures the tension and significance of this turning point in the war. The film presents a comprehensive and multinational view of D-Day, illustrating the coordination required for such a massive military operation. Its historical scope and attention to military detail help students visualize and understand the events and strategies of World War II. 4. A Night to Remember, released in 1958. It is unrated. A Night to Remember recounts the tragic sinking of the Titanic after it strikes an iceberg in the North Atlantic. The film focuses on the experience of both passengers and crew as they confront the unfolding disaster. The movie is known for its historical accuracy and restrained documentary style approach to the catastrophe. This film is valuable for teaching history because it offers a realistic and respectful depiction of the Titanic disaster, emphasizing human behavior under crises and the social dynamics of the early 20th century. Its factual basis encourages critical thinking about maritime safety, class inequality, and historical interpretation. 5. The Miracle Worker, 1962, MPAA rating of PG. This movie depicts the story of Helen Keller, a young girl who is blind and deaf, and her determined teacher, Anne Sullivan. The film focuses on Anne's struggle to break through Helen's frustration and isolation using discipline, compassion, and innovative teaching methods. Despite intense challenges, Anne eventually teaches Helen to communicate using sign language. The film is useful for teaching history because it highlights the importance of education and perseverance, which makes it perfect for students. It also provides insight into the lives of two influential historical figures and the development of special education in America. Number 6, Gettysburg, 1993, MPAA rating of PG. Gettysburg is a historical war film that depicts the pivotal Battle of Gettysburg during the American Civil War. The movie explores the strategies, decisions, and personal struggles of both Union and Confederate leaders, including General Robert E. Lee and Colonel Joshua Chamberlain. It portrays the combat, high stakes, and costs of the battle that became a turning point in the war. This film emphasizes honor, duty, and the conflicting values that divided the nation. Gettysburg is a helpful tool for teaching history because it offers a detailed and balanced portrayal of a key Civil War battle. Its character driven approach helps students to connect with historical figures and understand the complexity of the conflict. Number 7, The Patriot, released in 2000 with a rating of R. The Patriot is a fictionalized account of the American Revolutionary War, centered on Benjamin Martin, a reluctant veteran who joins the fight after his family is threatened. The film follows Martin as he leads a militia against British forces and portrays the emotional toll of the war, the fight for independence, and the sacrifices made by ordinary citizens. With dramatic battle scenes and a focus on family, it highlights both the brutality and the ideals of the American Revolution. This film is valuable for teaching history because it introduces students to the key themes of the Revolutionary War, such as colonial resistance and guerrilla warfare, as well as the role of civilians. While not necessarily historically accurate, it sparks an interest in the era and encourages deeper investigation into the real events and figures of the time. Number 8, The Imitation Game, 2014, with a rating of PG-13. The Imitation Game tells the story of Alan Turing, a brilliant mathematician who helped to crack Nazi Germany's Enigma code during World War II. Working with a team at Bletchley Park, Turing develops a groundbreaking machine that helped to accelerate the Allied victory, but he faced opposition for his unconventional methods. His contributions to computing and wartime efforts remained unrecognized for decades due to government security. This movie is great for teaching history because it highlights the role of code breaking in World War II and the early development of computer sciences, perfect for your technology geek. Number 9, Harriet, released in 2019, the rating of PG-13. Harriet tells the inspiring story of Harriet Tubman, an escaped slave who became one of the most courageous and successful conductors on the Underground Railroad. Through visions and unwavering faith, Harriet navigates dangerous territory to lead others to safety. Her bravery, determination, and leadership make her a symbol of resistance and freedom. This is a great movie because it brings to life the realities of slavery, the operations of the Underground Railroad, and the heroic efforts of African Americans in the fight for freedom. It encourages reflection on civil rights, resilience, and the power of an individual in history. Number 10, The Right Stuff, 1984, with a rating of PG. The Right Stuff depicts the early years of the U.S. space program, focusing on the lives and challenges of the first astronauts known as the Mercury 7. The film highlights the rigorous training, personal sacrifices, and the intense pressure of the Cold War space race against the Soviet Union. It also explores themes of bravery, patriotism, and the pioneering spirit that drove America's push into space. This is a great movie because it offers insight into the technological, political, and cultural factors that shaped the early space program. It inspires an interest in science and history by illustrating the broader significance of the space race during the Cold War. Number 11, Iron Jawed Angels, 2014. Unrated. Iron Jawed Angels tells a compelling story of the women's suffrage movement in the United States, focusing on activists like Alice Paul and Lucy Burns. The film follows their relentless fight for the 19th Amendment, which granted women the right to vote. It portrays the challenges they faced both from the government and society, as well as their strategic use of media and civil disobedience. This movie emphasizes courage, determination, and the power of grassroots activism. It's fantastic for teaching history because it sheds light on this pivotal era and the struggle for women's rights and democracy. It encourages discussions about social justice and political activism. Number 12, Lincoln, released in 2012 with an MPAA rating of PG-13. This movie focuses on the final months of President Abraham Lincoln's life as he worked to pass the 13th Amendment. The film highlights the intense political maneuvering, debates, and compromises that Lincoln faces in a deeply divided Congress during the Civil War. It portrays his leadership and moral conviction through various challenges as the movie reveals the complexities of governance during a transformative period in American history. This film offers a detailed look at the political processes behind a landmark constitutional change and the human qualities of one of America's most important leaders. Number 13, The Diary of Anne Frank, released in 1959 with a rating of PG. The Diary of Anne Frank is a film adaptation of the actual Diary of Anne Frank, a Jewish girl hiding from the Nazis during World War II. The story follows Anne and her family as they struggle with fear, hope, and the challenges of confinement. Through Anne's eyes, the film captures the innocence and resilience of youth amid the horrors of the Holocaust. It does ultimately reveal the tragic fate of the family and the enduring impact of Anne's words. The Diary of Anne Frank is useful for teaching history because it provides a personal and human perspective on the Holocaust, especially for students who might be the same age as Anne. And this movie helps to make the vast tragedy more relatable and impactful. Number 14, Hamilton, released in 2020 with an MPAA rating of PG-13. Hamilton is a fun musical that tells the story of Alexander Hamilton, one of America's founding fathers, through dynamic show tunes. The show follows Hamilton's rise from an orphaned immigrant to a key figure in the American Revolution and the early government, highlighting his ambitions, relationships, and his controversies. It explores themes of legacy and politics while showing the creation of the United States. This musical is great for teaching history because it makes the founding era a lot more engaging for modern audiences, connecting past events with contemporary music. It's a creative approach that encourages students to explore the complexities of early American politics, identity, and nation building. Last, but certainly not least, we have number 15, Apollo 13, released in 1995 with an MPAA rating of PG. Apollo 13 tells the story of NASA's ill-fated 1970 lunar mission, which turns into a tense struggle for survival after an onboard explosion. Astronauts Jim Lovell, Frank Hayes, and Jack Swigert must work with ground control to safely return to Earth despite limited power, oxygen, and a growing uncertainty. The film highlights the ingenuity, teamwork, and calm under pressure that defined NASA's response. The movie is valuable for teaching history because it demonstrates the challenges of the space race and the resilience of human problem solving under extreme conditions. Thanks for watching as we talked about our top 15 movies for teaching history. We hope that you enjoyed this little program. And if you have a favorite history movie that we didn't cover, feel free to drop it in the comments below. If you have watched some of the movies that we talked about today, tell us which one is your favorite. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to keep seeing more great content from Excelsior classes. Thank you!